So, last we met, our boys all met up with their friend Ophelia back where Kian was lost. Using a fancy gift given to her by her archfey ex-betrothed, higher up in the summer court, Ophelia delivered us to the Feywilds. The pine forest they landed in wasn't so friendly. Henry used a dowsing rod, gifted to him by a draconic treant, and now finds himself with a cursed hand. But once free from those woods, Virgil tried a new spell, Find Familiar, though he didn't search for his own. In calling on Nico's lion familiar, Peony, he found himself instead face-to-face with an archfey, wearing a lion's mane as a mantle. It seems Peony had found herself companionless, and this fey, the tracker, decided it was about time for a mercy kill. Still, things aren't all bad with this tracker. They guided our friends to the spring court, and after settling down for a good night's rest beneath the expanse of stars, it's about time to head out and ask for help finding Kian.
It's bright, sunny. This area of the wood is lacking in those sort of disturbing flesh-like trees that you saw before. It's pleasant, and if it weren't for the almost unusually fresh spring air, it would feel just like another day on the material plane.
Shall we get going?
Well, I think if we are ready to go, it'll be better to go sooner rather than later, not to dawdle around.
Where that thing pointed, they said to ask for help that way. And what exactly is the safest way to go about soliciting help from a fae?
I mean, they're associated with Ophelia and Beatrice. I'm sure it's their area of expertise.
Are we supposed to ask for help?
Ophelia looks over at Beatrice and nods. I do find being direct, polite, but direct, and speaking as little as possible is generally a relatively safe way to go about it.
Do we have anything that we could give up as payment if they ask?
Yeah, what kind of items would they be interested in?
Not exactly sure. I think she just starts rifling through her bag. Bits of lace.
Ox will dig in his bag for a second before he removes what looks like a cloth-bound bottle. I have this that might be useful to somebody, and he'll start to untie the cloth wrapped around it, and you see the familiar logo of Paradise Tequila. It is a very fine bottle of mezcal with something odd at the bottom of it, much like a worm or a grub.
That's a start. We'll see if they're interested.
Again, I don't think we necessarily have to give up anything, but if we have an idea of things that we would be willing to give up, maybe that's a good way to go.
And if they like you, they might, like you said, they might not ask for anything. Just, I don't know, try to be charming.
Great.
Don't say it like that, you can be charming.
I appreciate your saying so. And he will gather his things to head off.
She kind of laughs and starts gathering her things as well. We all get ready to go, doesn't take too long, and cross the meadow. A gentle rain starts to fall. It's very light, almost a mist. You can see rainbows forming out of the corner of your eyes as you keep moving forward. As the soil gets more and more moist, the smell in the air gets stronger. You notice flowers blooming, and you don't know if they've just bloomed now in front of you, if they were already there blooming and you just didn't notice them from far away. And as you enter the trees on the other side of this meadow, the world around you becomes more populated. Before it was just the towering red pines. Now it seems like all species, all ages of tree from anywhere all over the world that you could find. And you hear some bird song around you, but they sound a little bit more like voices. And occasionally from behind a tree or behind a bush, you think you see something, a small figure. Some of them are carrying large bundles, grasses, more flowers, small branches that would easily be picked from these trees. They're dressed in a yellow-green robes that reach the ground and hide their feet. One of them reaches out a thin, reedy arm to you and gestures. The others around it look over at it with big yellow eyes, back away, and then lean forward again. They speak in birdsong. The rest of them gesture to you to follow them. More and more of them appear as you continue your walk through the woods.
Beatrice looks around at the group, just kind of questioningly. Should we follow, or is that a bad idea?
Daddy, can I get a vibe check of their body language? Do they look malicious? Or
Sure.
welcoming?
Yeah.
That's an 18.
You don't feel any maliciousness from these creatures. They're, again, very small. They almost remind you of birds in their body language. They're very flighty. They don't make much of a sound as they duck behind trees and take a few steps out to look at you. They're watching you more with curiosity than with any other sort of intent. There's some excitement as well.
Does anyone understand what they're saying?
I don't right now, but we could ask them. They could lead us to the court.
Why don't you go ahead and ask them?
Yeah, that kind of seems a little more like your territory.
Sure. She wanders over. Hello.
They skitter away slightly as you approach, shyly, and then all vanish behind trees.
Don't be frightened.
One by one, you see a few more little faces peek their head out.
Do you know how to get to the spring court?
They hold out their hands again and gesture to you, look to each other again. You hear shrill little whistles, and then they turn around, skitter a few steps away behind another tree, turn around again to look at you.
She looks back to the group, shrugs, and takes a few steps forward.
I suppose we're following them then. And we'll join Beatrice.
Yeah, I'll follow in the back. Just keep an eye out.
Ox will hang out with Virgil in the back to keep some eyes on things.
Yeah. Ophelia pulls her hood a little bit further over her face and, steps forward in front of the two of you and keeps going. As you get deeper into the woods, it does get slightly darker. Nothing like the cover you experienced before in that sort of old growth forest. Occasionally you think you see something else besides these little sprites around you. At one point, out of the corner of your eye, very close, you see what looks like a pair of foxes standing on their hind legs, dressed in draping gowns and veiled, just holding their paws and looking at you curiously. You see birds you've never seen before, some with wings that are translucent, almost like a dragonfly, or light like a butterfly's. But your attendants, your little sprite friends, if I may be so bold to call them that, seem excited that you're here. Occasionally they'll get a little bit closer to you and reach out and just sort of touch you gently on the side, at the arm, as if to make sure you're really here. And then they'll skitter away. You'll hear the little whistles again, almost like laughter. The scent on the air becomes a little bit stronger. Still fresh, still light, but almost intoxicating. It can distract you for a moment as you go and make you lose track of the time. But as soon as you notice it, your head sort of leaves the clouds and you know where you are again. And the trees start to open up. Around you are plants just beginning to bloom. Flowers like buttercups, crocus, much bigger than what you'd usually find. And in the center of this large flower field, you see a gathering of these sprites. All around one single figure. You can presume, those of you who are familiar, this is an archfey of some sort. They stand tall, taller than any of you, maybe 7 or 8 feet. Their skin is a spring green, sort of like the tracker who you saw earlier, and there's a soft lilac purple sheen to their hair. They look to you all and open their eyes. They look a bit sleepy, like half-lidded, with a cloudy gray color. And they're clothed with fully translucent robes, just layers of translucent fabric that have a yellow and green tinge to them. Looks like embroidery at the base of the skirt takes the shape of some leaves and flowers that rustle far too naturally as they take a few steps forward, and the sprites skitter away into the woods around them. They approach you about 5 feet more, and then stop, their hands in front of them, and their head tilts to the side curiously.
Hello. Well, we were hoping that you might be able to help us find a friend.
Head tilts to the other side. And who are you?
You can call me Beatrice. These are my friends. She kind of looks behind her at the rest of the group.
You can call me Virgil.
Ox will remove his hat before saying, "My name is Oxalis."
Just Henry's fine.
Ophelia, who has been falling a little more behind as you carried on, clears her throat. Ophelia, it's a pleasure. The Fae in the center nods, and from the trees and plants around you, as if they were there the whole time, appear the rest of the court. They differ wildly in shape and color, though all here seem to be sort of vaguely tiefling or elf-like. They all have the greens and yellows and browns to their skin in various shades, and pale, colorful hair, like it's fashioned to reflect the flowers and the new leaves around them. They all wear the sheer robes and high, wide collars and fringed, faded green fabrics down their arms and their torsos, though often their long legs are bare, and they sort of shimmer in this cool yellow morning sunlight. And they all seem very curious about the group we see here. They gather around the, what you can assume, ruler of the Spring Court, and eye you closely. And you recognize one of them by the lion mantle around their neck. The tracker takes a step up to stand beside this Archfey ruler and looks at you all approvingly, nods. The Archfey in the center looks at the tracker and back at you. You may call me the Vernal Crown. You are searching for something in our lands?
It's a pleasure to meet you. Yes, I think we are. Someone is taken into the Feywild, and I think everyone here would like him back.
So your friend has been taken by one of us?
That's what I've heard, at least.
We're uncertain if they are of your court, but by a Fae, yes.
If it is not someone in my court, then, well, it is not my business.
What do they look like? I didn't get a chance to see them.
They had grey skin, big dark eyes, amphibious in nature perhaps. They looked after a river they had stolen from the material plane to look after in this realm. Does this sound familiar?
It does.
Are they one of yours?
No, she is her own.
But does she answer to you?
No.
Insight check. Terrible. 7.
Hard to inside a Fae.
It is hard to inside a Fae. She has this constant, faint smile. It doesn't feel disingenuous, but it does make it hard to tell what else might be beneath it. And it hasn't really changed since you all stepped forward and introduced yourself.
Well, perhaps you would be willing to give us directions, so we might deal with her ourselves.
If she's made her way through, perhaps.
They look over you all again, sort of scan you. You notice her gaze lingers on Henry and the hand that is looking a little bit more bark-like than it was yesterday. The gentle smile twists a bit into a hint of a smirk before going back to the same expression as before. You look back at the rest of you. Your people do not normally visit us, and if you do, it is usually for destruction or to take something. Why should I direct you through these lands?
We only mean to take back our friend.
That is what you say. But is that true? You. Hand reaches out. You are Beatrice Teufel, yes?
That would be me.
And gaze moves again over to Ophelia, who is standing slightly behind Ox. You are the other Teufel, yes? And Ophelia steps out fully from behind Ox and nods. You know it is not your time, yes? You are still engaged to be wed?
Of course. And I know it's not, but I was trying to help some of my new friends and perhaps respectfully see the Feywilds a bit before I come here.
How can you guarantee me that you will simply find your friend and go?
I can only speak for myself, but I truly don't wish to overstep in any way when I'm here, and trying to help them find their friend is my way of paying them back. And that's all we're trying to do here.
So you offer nothing, you ask just that we trust you. You do not take after your sister?
But I hope that you can trust me, because I'm sure that we might be working together in the future.
Have you roll a persuasion check?
Yeah.
If you want to contribute something to this, you can, and then you can help with the persuasion check.
I'm gonna use...
Uh-oh. That will go.
It went fine, but I'm gonna help it. I'm gonna use Ben's luck and use 2 sorcerer points. So that's a 22.
The Vernal Crown stares at you, Beatrice, for a long moment. Over to Ophelia, who respectfully keeps her gaze lowered, and then back to you. Looks over the group one by one, and then slowly dips their head to a nod. Wait here. Turns around. The tracker takes her place in the center of the field, just crosses their arms and watches all of you with a similar half smile. You watch the Vernal Crown walk over to one of the larger leafed plants. It looks like some sort of maybe monstera, like huge green leaves. At the base of the leaf and the stem, some large drops of water have gathered. She reaches her hand in, cups some in her palm, and then bends down to the base of this plant and digs her hand into the soil and pulls out, looks like some sort of canine skull, like a coyote's. She unhinges its jaw and places the water inside, and as she does so, instead of pouring through the open jawbone, it sort of hardens for a moment like ice and then smoother, more reflective as some sort of mirror, and stays there in its open jaw. She straightens, walks back over to you, and just holds out this skull to whoever will take it. This will help you through these lands. I can point you in the right direction.
Thank you so much.
It will reflect what is real, which I know your sort have a hard time understanding in this plane.
Beatrice nods and she holds out her hands to take it.
Her gaze follows it as she hands it to you, and you hold it in your own hands. When you find her, the Rusalka, if you discover anything in the lands she now possesses, I want you to bring them to me.
What sorts of things?
Anything you find interesting.
Well, alright, I'm sure there's something of interest in the area. if I may, perhaps on the subject of interest, or... are you, by chance, your neighbouring forest, do you know anything about them, and perhaps curing unfriendly curses that may or may not come out of it?
Gaze falls again to your tree in hand. She laughs quietly, a light, friendly sort of laugh. Yes, that does happen in those parts of the woods. It is not all bad to be a tree. It can be quite nice. You don't want this?
No, it would be very inconvenient.
Hold out your hand.
Oh god. Let's play a game of trust with an archfey.
Henry's not quick about it, but he does offer up his left hand.
Your hand has pretty much lost feeling since you let go of the dowsing rod. You can feel like pressure on it if you hit it against something, but besides that, it almost feels numb. But when she reaches out and clasps it in both of hers, you can feel her skin against yours. It's cool and smooth. Roll a d20.
Oh no.
19.
Her eyes close, and then when they open again, there's some sort of flash across them, and they look a little bit darker than before, like a darker gray. They pause for a moment and then nod, take their hands away. It may take some time for the curse of our truant friend to fade, but it should not progress.
Oh, greatly appreciated, thank you.
What did you do to offend them?
Well, frankly, I can't imagine anything that I really did to offend them. It was more of I asked for assistance. Perhaps they weren't too keen on it. They weren't nearly as polite as all of you.
Thank you. We look back up, and again their gaze lands on Ophelia. Back to you, Beatrice, and then Ophelia again. They sigh gently. Ophelia Toivo. And then say something else that you can't quite understand. They speak as clearly as before, and even so, it's like the syllables that they say just sort of slip from your mind, though you know you could hear them. It seems meaningless, you don't feel any sort of surge of magic, but Ophelia straightens as they speak, and you hear her under her breath go, "Son of a bitch." She pulls back her hood, takes a few steps forward. The tracker gestures. Felly, who's been sitting on Ophelia's shoulder, zips forward, lands on the tracker's outstretched fingers, and then vanishes. The Vernal Crown nods as Felly disappears. The Summer Court does not belong here. Upon your return, with whatever you may find in the Rusalka's land, well, the Summer Court is generous and we will not fight them on that. She will have her abilities back. I apologize for weakening your group. The tracker will guide you. You may go.
And Beatrice kind of looks down at the ground for a second, a little bit nervously, and she looks back up, smiles. Thank you very much for trusting us. Or me. It's made this all a lot easier. Well, we'll make our way.
They just give you a respectful nod, almost like a slight bow, and then gesture you vaguely in a westward direction.
She does a little curtsy.
See, Ophelia curtsies as well, pulls the hood back over her head before turning back around to rejoin you all. The tracker starts walking forward, without looking back at the rest of you.
Beatrice follows.
Ox will stay close to Ophelia.
You do hear some faint sniffling noises from Ophelia. She stares down at the ground. You can't see her face with the large hood covering her. You turn away from the sunlit flowers of the spring court. The Vernal Crown watches as you go. If any of you turn to see, they raise a hand and wave to you all. And you're back under the partial shade again. The tracker just walks forward with ease and grace over the very uneven ground. But if you fall too far behind, they will stop, wait for you to catch up. You walk in this manner for about 20 minutes or so. Before you tire, before you become hungry or thirsty, they halt, part one of the bushes in front of them. It's blooming with like small white bell-shaped flowers. And as they do so, they point to the ground, and you see a train track. Ancient. It's falling apart, covered in moss. Some of the metal seems to have been pulled out from the track. You've never seen an ancient rail line before. You've seen them being built. None of them are quite old enough to be this weathered. You have a question?
When were trains created?
Trains were created about 150 years ago.
Okay.
As far as we know.
So,
Maybe they were before trains.
So Ophelia's older than trains.
yeah, quite a lot of people are
Yeah.
older than trains in this world. I mean, people remember the times before islands were connected. You may follow these. They'll lead you where you need to go.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for pointing us in the right direction. I think we would have had a much harder time finding the Spring Court without your help.
I was summoned. Does not happen often. Not by anyone besides the Vernocron themselves. I am a curious sort.
You didn't have to help us, though. It's very nice.
I did not have to, but it was not from kindness. I want to see what happens. And if you are all killed in your attempts, sure you have something interesting on you. Smile.
That entirely depends on what you define as interesting.
You seem like interesting folk.
Thank you for your guidance. We'll be on our way then.
Beatrice gives a little wave.
Virgil just turns and starts down the tracks.
The tracker gives a little wave back.
Looking at the tracks,
Mhm.
are they similarly built to train tracks in Actarius? Same size? Are they bigger?
Is it a standard
smaller?
rail line?
Yeah.
Standard gauge?
I'll have you roll.
Can I get advantage because my special interest is trains?
I was just gonna have the DC be low.
Okay.
Wait,
And this will be history. You can roll
Three.
too, Henry.
That's a 10.
7.
13.
So wait, 13, 7,
10.
10.
should I roll 2? Jesus.
Yeah.
I trained in history.
Are you
Train.
trained?
Been on trains before.
Are there iron railroad spikes?
No.
What are they made out of?
I don't think you can tell.
Can I with the
What are they metal?
25?
Sorry.
So does the 25 tell me that they're like bones or some shit?
Actually, I think it should get you whether or not it's like the size of railroad tracks, which are the size of wagons that are standing.
I do know that.
Yeah.
We're all nerds.
It is hard to, those of you who didn't roll 25, it's almost hard to follow these tracks. They stand out enough amongst all of the natural flora around you that you don't find yourself getting lost, but they are mostly covered in plant life, crumbling, falling apart, decaying. So you can determine that they seem different slightly from the train tracks you're used to, but unless you really want to get into investigating them, which of course you're free to, just by sort of walking by and inspecting them, you can't really suss out much more than that. Virgil, as you stare down at these tracks, you're not unfamiliar with taking trains. It seems like they're similar to the ones at home, slightly larger, and the metal, from what you can see peeking out, is a little darker than what you normally find, almost black. It catches the light in a different way. From certain angles, when the sun hits it just right, it has a little more of a glimmer to it, even though it is weathered and worn. If anything, it looks sort of like labradorite. It has that same iridescence to it.
So it refracts in a similar way to labradorite, but it is still metal.
Yes.
Okay.
Is the tracker still there?
If you look back to see, yes, still there, just watching you all go.
Make sure the tracker isn't following us.
Roll a perception check.
9.
You look back as you start to move along the tracks, and the tracker is still there watching you all go, and You continue to walk forward, take your time to inspect the train tracks around you, and then when you look back again, the tracker is gone. You didn't hear them go. You don't hear them around you. So who knows?
Virgil just keeps his hand on his sword hilt as we go.
As soon as they're like maybe 100, 200 feet away, Beatrice will look to Ophelia. You're right. Are they gone?
They said they would give her back if we returned, so I assume not.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Looks up at you, Beatrice. You can see she's been crying. She wipes the tracks of the tears away from her face. I don't think they have the ability to keep her anyway. They did not give her to me. Don't know why they knew my name, but I have my suspicions. But I'd like to believe they're not going to use that.
Would you mind elaborating a little bit on what you mean by your suspicions and not going to use that? Please.
Well, I don't think they're going to try to, fuck with me any more than they already have.
Yes, I understand that part. I was more asking along the lines of how they might have known your name in the first place. I understand a little bit of the two courts situation and that an obligation was not fulfilled, and you also, we have the same engagement history, and so I know that can sometimes come back to bite you in the ass at an inconvenient time, and I just would like to know what would be doing the biting in this case. Just heads up, something in advance, what might.
Henry, what makes you say we have the same engagement history?
Would you not
Are you
informed of my history with Magdala, the sheriff's wife?
Yes, I have been informed of your history with Maggie, and I don't know what makes you believe that you and I are alike in any way. Is this something you're trying to, connect with me over? The fact that you... She stops and takes a deep breath. You've helped us. And I am very grateful for that. But there's no reason why we are working together right now except for Kian's sake. You understand that, yes?
Yes, of course. If it wasn't for Kian, I wouldn't be in the Feywilds.
I would never do to anyone what you did to Maggie. We do not have a similar engagement history.
Then I suppose it was just a misunderstanding on my part and disregarded. I apologize.
She just shakes her head. Keeps walking forward.
I think she's a bit shaken up right now, Henry.
Yes, but now I'm a little bit confused. I thought... Hadn't Ophelia left her own wedding as well?
I don't think she ever...
She whips around. I made it crystal clear from the very beginning that I was not interested in this marriage to my betrothed, and that I had other plans with someone else. They knew. My family knew. Everyone knew. I did not just leave them waiting for me. I would not do that. Yes, I had an engagement, but it was not mine. It was my family's. And they knew I was going to go. My betrothed did not care. They encouraged me.
Yes, they sounded like an asshole.
They were fine. Like I said, I had plans with someone else, and those plans did not work out. And that, Henry, has given me perfect insight into how Maggie must have felt when you decided, apparently without, informing anyone, to just leave. So, I have a hard time seeing you as anything more than a pompous, pretentious asshole who does not care about the people around him. I don't know what you hope to gain from this. Wish you the best of luck. But I pray to the gods that we never have to see each other again once all this is over.
I'm sure you'll arrange that. Right, let's get to Kian then. We don't need to continue this trade.
Ophelia blinks and looks a bit taken aback by her own outburst and turns around, walks forward a little more quickly than before, ahead of the rest of the group.
Oh boy! The gang falls
Go
apart in
well.
the Feywild.
She just keeps going. She doesn't look back at the rest of you.
Ox will follow.
Like up close on his own, or just?
I think he kind of walks in between Ophelia and the rest of the group as sort of a little bit of a bridge. Like trying
Just trying to keep
trying
them
to
together.
make the group like still be in a group shape.
I think Beatrice like goes kind of step in step with Henry. You know, for all it's worth, don't think you're really that much of a pompous asshole. So maybe she's just not having the best moment right now.
I don't know. I always had the impression she didn't care much for me, though I suppose I don't really know why. But it's a common theme, so you get used to it. Anyway. Oh no. The important thing is that we work together long enough to get Kian, because that is more important.
I don't know, maybe you could ask her why she doesn't like you.
I think she's already made it a little bit clear. I should say I don't know the inciting incident. It will be fine. Like I said, let's focus on Kian. We're here for Kian. That's what's important. That's what everyone wants. So we're going to get Kian.
Of course. Is your hand doing okay?
Has the hand situation changed?
It doesn't look like it's changed. However, that is, in a sense, an improvement. As before, every time you checked on it, it seemed like it was getting worse. And some of the feeling has returned to it, even if the appearance is the same.
Well, I believe it's in better shape than before. I am appreciative of your Fey acquaintances for this assistance.
Glad that we didn't have to give anything up. It was quite nice of them. We'll have to send some interesting items their way.
I'm very confident we'll be able to find something.
I think the most interesting thing is with Kian. There was some sort of strange matter. Other than that, I'm not sure.
Well, we'll have to look. She might continue to kind of make small talk, but she's definitely a little bit thrown, trying to kind of keep up the morale in the back of the group at least.
Henrik mostly just here finding the railroad tracks to be a very interesting piece of scenery.
I'm gonna give Ophelia a good 5 minutes to catch her breath, and then I'll pass Ox and catch up to walk beside her.
You have to really pick up your pace as you do that, as Ophelia is sort of tromping forward with determination.
Virgil is used to walking fast to keep up.
The biggest mood version.
Am I projecting?
Sorry.
He'll just walk beside her and wait for her to... He doesn't say anything. He just walks beside her.
She glances over at you as you approach her and gives you a little nod.
He nods back.
She glances back for the first time at the rest of the group. Sees they're at quite a distance at this point.
Except for Ox.
Looks forward again along the rails. I apologize for that little moment.
For the moment or its content?
For now, just for the moment. Might feel sorry about the content later, we'll see.
Did it make you feel better?
She looks back at you as you say that, Virgil. Let me know if I need to insight check. What tone is Virgil trying to portray here?
I mean, he was genuine in asking if it made her feel better. It's not necessarily a reassuring tone.
I was wondering if it was a scolding.
No.
Okay.
He was genuinely asking.
Then yeah, she looks at Virgil, narrows her eyes a bit, and then back forward again. No, not really, but didn't expect to. Mostly just embarrassed. I'll make it up to him later.
Perhaps he can return the favor.
As long as we get Kian back. That's all he needs to do. Help with that. I know he plans to, so I should be grateful he's here.
Aside from the obvious, what specifically is it about him that vexes you?
The rail lines. You are experienced with riding them? Yes?
Yes, quite a great deal.
Who paid for that?
My higher-ups, I assume. If they were not free of charge entirely.
Most people do not have higher-ups to pay for them. I know it sounds a bit hypocritical coming from me, considering the family I was born into, but there were reasons why I didn't really like them either. There are so many people out there who need help. And, I've tried to do what I can, and Lachlan and I, that's sort of what we were doing. At a very small scale. Aren't that many of us, but it was something. But Henry has access to the entire continent. I have not seen anyone associated with the Goodlove family helping anyone but themselves, and those with very heavy pockets. It's frustrating. Also, there is the personal matter. I probably shouldn't just brush that aside. It has clouded my judgment of him.
There is a personal matter, too.
What I said before.
About the wedding.
I did have a betrothed I didn't marry, but there was someone else who I made my own plans with, and we were going to leave together, and they never showed up. So that is why I think I can understand Maggie's perspective a little better than Henry's. And now I suspect they've given my name to someone else, which is an incredible breach in respect, even for them.
You're certain this partner of yours is because of your name being shared?
No one else knew it.
Could it not have been your family?
No. They don't know my name.
And as for your betrothed?
They don't either. Oh, well, depends which one you mean. The one in the summer court does not.
How much of this is within earshot for Ox, if any of it?
If you want to move a little closer to them, you can.
It is not my intention to foster hope where there is potentially none, but you are uncertain of why your partner did not appear.
She nods.
I hope it is not that they simply chose not to, but I suppose on the other hand, it might be worse if that were not the case. So I am sorry, in general.
It's alright. It was a very long time ago. And I found my own family. And all this, she just gestures vaguely in the air, sort of dug up old feelings, and that's what happened to Lachlan and Kian. I mean, I always knew Kian was going to leave eventually, but not like this. It's just been a bit stressful. You don't have to worry about this. It is ancient history. Like I said, I'm sort of embarrassed. Just need a moment.
You can have all the moments you need. It still bothers you, so... There is no one saying you need to be over it.
Thank you.
And as far as the Henry situation, well, we have not truly seen him take control of the Goodloves as a company. He hasn't yet had his own shot at it. Perhaps he never will. But as for what he chooses to do with his family's wealth, I suppose that lies with him. At least to let him have the chance to screw it up?
We'll give him a chance. Don't worry, we'll make it up to him.
I'm not worried. Not about that.
What are you worried about then?
I don't know that you need to hear about, well, the doubt that I have about the condition we'll find Kian in. I don't think that's something you really need to hear.
I'm sure I have similar concerns.
Does it get any easier for you? Loss. Because one would think if you experience a thing enough times, it gets easier.
She glances back, sees Ox is a little closer. She stops for a moment. Ox, a shy wave. You've never seen her be shy before. It looks a bit strange on her. Then turns back. To keep moving forward. She's staring down at the ground again, but a little more thoughtfully than, angrily this time. It's something my people, elves, amongst a few others, are sort of raised to expect. So, in a way, I may be a little more prepared than you. I mean no offense by that.
None taken. I suppose I'm jealous then.
I don't intend to make you envious. It doesn't get easier. It just is. I know that's not particularly helpful. But if you expect it at all times, it can't surprise you. And if you're not alone, well, you have others around when things get difficult.
How do you do both at once?
Do what at once?
Have people around you and yet be prepared to lose them.
Well, I can only hope I'm never going to lose everyone at once. And with those you lose, there's also more you experience and other things you gain. Other people who come and go from your lives. Virgil, I don't think you need to act as though Kian is already gone.
I'm not certain one way or the other, obviously, but I suppose, like you said, it's easier to be prepared, isn't it?
If we can't get Kian back, it's going to be difficult. But I'm not going to be alone, and neither are you. I suppose that's how I usually get through it. I don't think this is particularly helpful to you, and I'm sorry for that. But that does make a difference, I think. But yes, it will hurt no matter what.
No, you're wrong. That is good advice. I don't think I've actually tried that.
Well, hopefully you won't have the opportunity to try it anytime soon.
Hopefully not.
I'm trying to think positively about it. But if something does happen, I'll be here.
Thank you, Ophelia.
Thank you. She turns, looks back again. Ox, darling, is there something you wanted?
Well, I just wanted to be close enough to you that I could keep an eye on you.
Thank you. She motions for you to come forward a little bit.
He'll pick up his pace and catch up to them with a few long strides.
Show off.
She glances past you to see Henry and Beatrice taking up the rear very far away. I didn't intend to separate us quite this much. I'll take it a bit slower. She keeps moving forward, a little slower this time. if the both of you allow it, slowly, but with a hint of a smile, like take your arm on one side and your arm, Virgil, on the other, and sort of walk between you. She pulls you both close.
Yeah, I'll allow that.
It does make it a little harder to traverse the forest floor and the tracks that jet out from the ground, but you manage. You carry on in this manner for what feels like most of the day. The temperature stays comfortable, pleasant, as the sun rises to its highest point in the sky. You're constantly, at least partially, shaded by the leafing trees around you. And that smell in the air is always there, not quite as powerful as it was when you were in the court, but it's almost energizing in itself. As you stop to take your short rest, you realize, you've been walking for a while, it's been sort of a long day, but you're not particularly hungry or thirsty. You still have a little meal and drink from your water skins, but even though it is through an unfamiliar wood in an unfamiliar plane, it's all strangely pleasant. And your exhaustion is strangely low after all of the stress you've been through. And occasionally the tracks will almost vanish in the ground, but you can always find them at least 10 feet ahead. The brightness of day turns to dusk. The sound of the birds change as some go to bed and some begin to wake up. You hear some owls, perhaps. And then you hear a sound that's both unworldly and completely familiar. It could be the sound of a running stream, and you can hear it before you see it. And like I said, you're not in the desert anymore, and this whole time you've been feeling sort of light and energized, and your water skins are filled. But for a moment, as you all notice this sound, you're parched like you've never been before. This is what longing feels like. And the sound is beautiful and perfect. And the sound of this water grows a little louder as you move forward, and you realize that it's a little off. It's a little different from the sound of a stream. It sounds a little bit more like a voice. Like someone singing. Keep moving forward. The tracks around you start to take on a reddish hue of rust. And though you hear this running water, there's no stream at all, there's no gentle river. You just start to notice patches of dampened land, marshy areas that are filled with stagnant water. It's darker than it should be, though. As you get a closer look, you realize that they aren't reflecting the branches above. They look almost like holes. Ophelia, who's been at the lead, slows down a little as the landscape starts to change and turn a little stranger around you. Eventually the land starts to decline slightly, and now you can see faint rivulets of water trickling a bit pathetically over the moss and roots. Ophelia stops, just looks to all of you and points ahead. The land flattens out slightly, and the trees too thin out. And the water seems to get deeper in places, almost like ponds more so than puddles. Ahead of you, maybe 300 feet or so, is a lake, perhaps. The few rises in the land in the middle, covered in a light blue, like a periwinkle, small flowers. You can see around this lake and some of the other patches of water that surround it what look like outcroppings, much like the one you saw before, but they have that same sheen to them as the metal on the tracks, and you can recognize them as some sort of machinery.
Henry Tempest Goodlove here. If you'd be so kind as to give me a minute of your time, I've got something I need to tell you. first off, thank you for listening to Spare the Crying. Your support really is appreciated. And speaking of, when you're done here, why not leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube streams? And if you're so inclined, we even have a Discord server where you can discuss the story so far or talk about your own TTRPG adventures. Now, for some credit where it's due. Our background music is by Merika Shans, and the intro music is by Ben McElroy. Not to mention our official artwork is from our very own Corey, at Crow Queen on Twitter. I can't begin to tell you how pleased I am that so many people have tuned in to our adventures, and for those who keep coming back. Until next time.
The voice continues to sing as you walk through this new landscape. I'm gonna have you all roll wisdom checks.
Nice.
22.
Nice.
11.
Nice.
19.
Unnatural 1.
Oh no!
The two of you, like everyone else, have been feeling this thirst as you get closer and the voice gets louder, but in this moment, suddenly it hits you harder somehow than it did before, and the both of you, without really thinking about it, just rush to the nearest marshy, almost puddle that you can find and reach in just with your hands to take a sip desperately.
Oh no.
Is that- Henry, you've come here to drink as well.
The water is almost sweet and it's cold, and as you gulp it down, you do feel better. The intense craving fades away, and you sort of come to find yourself crouching in the mud in front of this edge of a marsh. Your face is dripping.
What are you two doing? Can I go over to them?
Yeah.
And try and pull them back from the water? Do you feel any difference? What was that about?
I was just so thirsty.
It was excellent water. You know,
Yes, but don't you both, of all people, know better than to do that here?
yes, of course. What Beatrice said, I don't know what happened, came over me, you know.
Beatrice, do you still have that skull? Is any of this real?
How big is it? Like how? It's a coyote-ish size.
It's smaller than that.
Okay.
You can hold it in one hand. It's a little large to hold in one hand, but you can.
Yeah, then she would have just maybe fashioned a bit of fabric to kind of make like a little like sling or something, so that you just had it on her, and she'll pull it out and hold it up.
You shine this mirror around the machine-filled marsh that surrounds you, and as you pass over one of the small ponds of water, the one sort of to your upper left, you notice something change in the reflection. It looks like a ripple in the water near the edge. The singing stops for a moment and stutters before it continues again as the mirror passes over it.
But it looks like there's something right there.
Bertle draws his sword and it frosts over. What was it?
She'll aim the mirror at it and point in the reflection.
He points the tip of his sword there and just holds a defensive stance. Right, no more drinking weird fey water, yeah?
It wasn't much of a choice, but I will refrain from doing it again, yes.
The reflection vanishes in the mirror. You don't see the ripples anymore on the surface of the water. I'm gonna have everyone roll just a d20.
3.
3.
Oh no, Henry! What's
6.
happening today?
14.
14.
19.
19.
It's us again. Just being rich really brings you down.
The rich kids.
Yeah.
And yet Ophelia's?
Well, have you seen her clothes? I don't really think she's
Whoa,
rich
hey,
anymore.
what the fuck?
Henry, does
This what?
a 15 hit you?
Yeah, 15 hits.
Just in terms of Sentinel, do I see what's attacking him?
you can actually notice this first as the one who's sort of on defense right now. You hear a faint splash in the small puddle that's in front of all of you that the two of them just drank out of, and a dagger gripped by someone with like a dark gray skin that you recognize plunges up from beneath the surface and just slashes towards Henry. And yeah, you can sentinel.
Yeah, Virgil doesn't even hesitate. He leaps forward and stabs into whatever part of them he can get. I assume a 22 hits.
Yeah, 22's gonna hit.
Okay. Whoever this is will take 15 points of damage. Kind of a hiss of ice across the water.
As Virgil slashes down Henry, this dagger cuts across your skin and it feels like a frigid pain, and you take 8 points of slashing damage. Though the wound does not bleed, it just leaves like a gash in your arm. And I'm going to have all of you roll for initiative.
Okay.
Oh boy.
3.
Also 3.
Who's high?
What's happening?
What's your dex mod?
3.
3? Okay. Henry's D4. Beatrice.
Dirty 20.
11.
Why are we rolling so bad?
Virgil, as you strike forward and there's splashes rising up from the water, Ophelia will grab Ox by the hand and run forward to where everyone else has gathered. And
Wait, since I'm at the top of initiative, do I get to take my turn? Because Sentinel's a reaction.
Sorry, yeah.
Does a 20 hit?
Yes, a 20 does hit.
And what about a 15?
Yes.
11 damage?
What kind of damage is this?
This is slashing and cold.
Tell me when it's cold.
Well, 4 cold damage. And the second one is 8 slashing and 3 cold.
Yeah, Ophelia will grab Ox's hand and run forward and let go of him before she reaches the water's edge. I think just for now, she's actually just going to pull out a dagger of her own and dash down in the same spot where she saw the few remaining ice crystals of Virgil's attack. You see her hit something and yank her dagger out. And she's also going to, Ox, give you a bit of bardic inspiration. She just reaches and squeezes your hand and looks back to you and nods. And she doesn't say anything, but you're going to add...
This D8.
You save the D8 to add.
Is it guidance?
Yeah,
Bardic
it's
inspiration.
bardic inspiration. She's here to support you, but you can tell that she trusts in your ability to take care of whatever this may be. And it's your turn.
Yeah, Ox will whip out his pistol and
Don't be lewd.
and he's gonna take a shot at Rusalka. Yeah, that's a 21 to hit for the first
Wow.
one. Yeah, that's only a 9 on the second one.
8 damage?
Yeah.
Okay. And you hear the unfortunately very familiar sort of pain scream that brings you back to that day you fought a fish. The beauty in the voice has vanished.
Ox looks uncomfortable.
Henry, it's your turn.
Have his bow out. Well, that's a 1. 9?
Was there a natural one?
Yeah, it was a nat 1.
Cool. Make your attack.
Oh no.
9.
Henry, you turn and aim and fire a excellently done shot into Virgil's shoulder. Virgil, you take 9 damage. As you
I think as Ox sees this, he's gonna yell, Henry!
I promise I'm not aiming like this on purpose.
Virgil looks you dead in the eyes and yanks the arrow out of his shoulder.
Beatrice.
Beatrice is gonna go 10 feet away. Cloud of daggers. She holds up her hand. It's shaking slightly. She'll mutter something, and surrounded, almost like it's forming from the water itself, turns into a mist of icy daggers around Rusalka in a 5-foot cube.
Okay,
There.
roll a d20.
12.
These ripples in the water fade after you, Virgil, and Ophelia slash down into it. You wait a moment. Beatrice, you can kind of feel through your magical connection the daggers making contact with something just beneath the water.
13
13 points?
of slashing.
You can feel it hitting, and then it seems like they're just slashing at nothing, and the water stills. It's quiet for a moment. Ophelia looks around at all of you curiously, shrugs. And then you hear a loud creaking and clanking as the piece of metal, some sort of machinery rusting and falling apart, that's half laying in the pond just ahead of you, starts to move and rise up from the ground. And even as it rises, it falls apart more and more. There's loud crashes as pieces of it fall from itself. But it begins to take a form of... It looks almost like a wagon of some sort, but with 2 long arms extending from it. At the end are hooked claws, something that could dig through the earth, and it turns slightly, and in the center of this mechanical body, a bright light shines in your direction. Virgil, it's your turn.
Okay. How big is this machine?
Before it fell apart, it looked like it was, 40 feet by 40 feet, but what manages to actually pull itself from its own carcass is about 10 by 10.
And you said there was a glowing piece of something near its center?
Yes.
Quite
Facing
a
towards
ways off. Fuck. I'm gonna spread out a bit. You see him sort of settle into a ready stance, and he breathes out a breath of cold air, and his image sort of shifts and almost fuzzes over, and there's a silvery after image around him as he moves. I'm gonna cast Expeditious Retreat with my bonus. I'm gonna hold my action. If anything gets within melee of me, I'm gonna smack it.
So you stay where you are.
Where is everybody around me?
You're all
That's
gathered
Beatrice.
around a small pool of water that these two just drank out of, and this moving machine is...
Goes like over 100 feet away.
I'm gonna say it's 100 feet away.
Okay. I'll center myself between Ox and Henry and just get within 5 feet of them. Don't shoot me again, please.
I wasn't planning to.
Ophelia dashes. She runs very quickly, slipping slightly over the ground. Just runs up in front of the group, out in the open.
Ox is gonna shoot at... Yeah, I think he's gonna redirect toward the machine now. That's a 16 to hit the second time.
16?
Yeah.
16 hits. You hear like a kapling as it hits the metal of this thing. One of them actually hits that glowing, whatever it may be, orb in the center of it, and it blinks on and off.
Virgil, may I ask a quick favor of you? If I happen to be just shooting at something that is not the enemy, could you body me? I'll take your silence as a guess. Let's go. 23 on the first one.
Yeah, that hits.
8 on the second one. That's 8 damage on the first one.
You fire your bow, and much like Ox, you hit it sort of near this basically target in its center, this light. It blinks on and off again. It continues to, in its mechanical way, just stare at the rest of you and rumble slightly. You can feel the ground beneath you shaking. Beatrice.
She's gonna hold concentration on that cloud of daggers. She'll lift up her other hand, holding the tatting shuttle, and does a 17 hit?
Yes.
2 rays of, ice. 10.
10 points of damage. Alright, the rumbling pauses for a moment and stutters as sort of freezes up the ground around it. It jerks forward slightly and breaks free with a ripping sound as some of the earth comes up with it. It begins to move.
No.
It rolls just through the little pond that you found it in. And sorry, Ophelia.
No! No!
And you see little sparks starting to fling off of it as it moves forward and moves through the water. The ground shakes again, and you hear Ophelia cry out, "Oh fuck!"
She says, "Oh fuck!"
Cry out, "Oh fuck!" So it critted on her, but then she saved against the extra damage. The ground splits slightly, and you see these sparks following the crack in the earth, and it opens up slightly under Ophelia, and she gets electrocuted.
I'm so thrilled about it.
Yeah, she yells out and sort of jumps back as this electricity leaps up from the ground.
He will move almost with preternatural speed, dashing up beside it. How is this thing moving? Does it have wheels, or does it have limbs that it walks on?
It has treads.
Okay, he will aim for those and take 2 slashes. Natural 20. Yeah. Oh god, with all the dice damage. Okay. So double that is 8 cold and 11 slashing. 21 for the second hit. 5 cold damage and 9 slashing.
You hack at this metal. It's like hitting a train car. You can feel the jarring feeling of metal on metal go up your arm into your chest as you hit it. But you leave dents. This thing is old, ancient, rusting. It looks like it's already falling apart some, even as you first hit it. Ophelia is going to run up to your side after she sort of recovers, and she kind of steps back a moment while you attack it, like giving you the space to do so. And then, now that she's a little closer, she crouches down to the ground. At first, it almost looks like she's been hit, but you see her press her palm into this moss and shout out another word, and the ground around you begins to quake. Virgil, you also need to make a dexterity saving throw.
Ooh, 14.
You stumble slightly. Ophelia reaches out to grab your arm as you do so, and you right yourself. This machine teeters, and more pieces of it, metal sheets that were badly screwed in on the side, start to fall off it, and it actually crashes to the ground on its side. One of the clawed arms at a strange angle, and its treads just whirring and spinning in the air as it fights to right itself. And Ophelia looks at you. Sorry. And stands back up. Ox.
Ox is gonna take his first action to reload. Is the Rusalka out at all?
Make a perception check.
Oh, if I see Ox.
Where's the fish
Oh,
ox?
that.
Fishing minigame.
14. You take a moment during all of this to glance around you. You see more of these machines. They all seem inactive except for this one that desperately treading at the air. None of the surfaces of the pond seem to be moving. None of them look really different from each other except for the one surrounded by forget-me-nots a distance ahead of you. It catches your eye. You look a little closer, but you don't see any sign of the Rusalka there. You don't see any movement in the water.
Yeah, then Ox is going to aim for the machine once more.
Just shooting right between Virgil and Ophelia.
Yep.
You shoot it again, and this time, with it lying there, you manage to shoot into one of the tires, the treads, and you see the bullet impale itself inside, and more sparks fly out from within. There's a faint whiff of burning rubber.
Might as well take aim at the big boy. 30, 20 the first time. Or 25 the next time.
Yeah, those will hit.
Yay.
Damn. I need to give things higher ACs.
No.
No.
Okay, the first shot is 12.
12. Fire arrows at it, and again, though they bounce off of the metal, it does seem to have an impact on it, and you can hear sort of a hollow clang as they hit. Beatrice.
She'll keep concentration up then, and she'll race forward just a tiny bit. I guess 30 feet. Not a tiny bit.
Ox.
Mm-hmm.
No. Henry.
Fuck.
Roll a wisdom.
Wisdom.
Saving throw. Roll wisdom saving throw.
I'm very curious how we went from Ox to just now.
Please.
Not at disadvantage.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Just-
but
Just really setting you up to fail, yeah.
7.
7, you say.
He's kicking his
Henry,
own
you
ass.
hear that voice again. This time, it doesn't cause you to be overcome with thirst or anything like that. You don't want to drink from the pond again. But you do want to get closer to it, to hear it better. It's distant. And you walk forward, you run forward. Let's see, what's your speed?
30.
30?
Henry just runs into the ocean.
the ocean would be safer.
How do we know this isn't
You
the
use
ocean?
your turn, Henry. You run between this machine and Beatrice past them towards this voice that you hear. You can hear it a little better as you go, but you're still not close enough to really hear it properly. And this is an art. This is something that needs to be admired and respected properly. So you're not going to stop until you have at least been able to give it a proper audience. You see the claw arm that's at a strange angle sort of twist itself with impressive dexterity on its hinges, and it pushes itself back up, sort of half sinking into the mud as it does so, but manages to right itself and get back on its treads. That claw that it uses to right itself swings towards you. It swings, but as it does so, it sort of sinks again slightly into this wet ground, and the claw just over your head. You can feel the wind like whip your hair a little bit as it goes by.
Hot.
With impressive speed and force. And it's your turn.
He'll just he'll aim for that joint next, where the arm is connected to the body. Ooh, that's not gonna hit.
I like the excitement in your voice as you say it's not gonna hit.
Does a 14 hit?
Yes, a 14 hits.
Yay, 1 hits. 3 frost, 13 slashing. Yeah, with his bonus action, I'm gonna try a blood curse. He reaches out and normally he finds the blood within a creature, but since this thing doesn't seem to have any, he'll freeze the moisture in the air around its joints. And I would love for you to roll a strength save. And roll low if you don't mind.
Is it supposed to be on something that has blood?
Normally, but because I'm a special ghost slayer, it works on things without blood.
What is it about ghost slayers? What aspect of it?
You gain an additional use of your blood curse. In addition, your blood curses can target any creature, whether it has blood or not.
I don't think this is gonna work on it.
Oh no.
Creature, though.
It's not a creature. Corey, I'm gonna send you a message and you can decide based on what I say about this,
Okay.
if this works or not.
Because this thing isn't classified as a creature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In that case, that one strike is my turn. 3 frost and 13 slashing.
Perfect. You attempt to use your blood curse on this.
He usually, you see him reach out and mentally he's finding moisture within the body.
You sort of sense or attempt to sense the body of this creature, and as you do so, that sort of sixth sense that you usually get when you attempt to cast the blood curse sees nothing, but your sword does slash through one of the metal casings with a unfortunate crunching sound. Ophelia's gonna go next.
Oh, sweet.
Ophelia lunges forward as Virgil, you slash through, and she pulls out her dagger again and goes for the slash that you created in it, and plunges her dagger in, and as she pulls it out, the metal just scrapes against her arm, and she winces, and her sleeve comes away tattered. You see some blood fall to the ground. Pulls out the dagger, just completely ineffectual, doesn't do anything. She swears. Ox, it's your turn.
Yeah, Ox is gonna shoot at it again. That would be a 25
Yeah, it'll hit.
something. Yeah, 14 damage on
14.
the first one. 7 damage on the
7
second one.
damage. You continue to fill this dusk with racket as you fire volley after volley on this metal machine. All the hits meet their mark with a hollow bang. It sort of starts to turn in the earth, almost like it's confused as attacks come at it from different directions. But, Henry, none of this really reaches your ears. You can just hear this voice as you continue to run. I'll have you move 60 feet.
60?
You don't
This
think
way.
we should have stopped him,
I
right?
forgot to stop Henry.
Right.
You know when you're really concentrated on machines?
So 6 squares. As you get closer to this voice and it sounds a little clearer and clearer in your head, I'm going to have you make another wisdom saving throw with disadvantage.
Roll high.
4.
Okay. You're still not as close as you could be, but you're getting there. The sounds of the fight fade behind you.
Okay. Ox, I'm letting go of the spell. Be careful.
Run up.
Fuck it up, Beatrice.
Come on, Beatrice.
She's going to cast Hold Person on Henry.
Yeah.
It's about time someone held him.
Yeah.
Disadvantage wisdom saving throw.
2.
Get held.
As you take another step forward, you just basically freeze there,
Get held.
like you've hit a wall.
Beatrice is holding her hand up.
Virgil, you feel the whoosh of air again above your head as that claw swings by you. This time you know what it sounds like and you manage to duck. It's like the velocity was too much for its own machinery, and the claw sort of crumples as the joint breaks as it passes over you, and it lands with a thump on the ground. And it's your turn.
Does Henry... he's held. I can't really tell what's going on.
Yeah, Henry was running and then just stopped in his tracks.
And you can see Beatrice holding her hand up towards him.
You got him?
Yes, for a bit.
Okay. He will swing around to flank the machine with Ophelia and take 2 slashes.
Okay.
19 to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And an 8 to hit.
The 19 hits.
Okay. 7 slashing. And 6 ice.
Yeah, you hack away at it. Is this your frozen blade?
Yeah.
Yeah. The ice forms little crystals that go up the side of this machine. It whips around to try to face its
Wait a minute.
head
I had
towards
advantage.
you.
That's why. The whole point of me was flanking. The second one does hit.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, yeah, you're good.
I completely forgot why I did this strategy and everything. Another 3 ice and 7 slashing.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm full.
So good at D&D.
Yeah, I'm like a professional or something.
Flanks advantage.
Forget it.
Flavor.
It's fine. It's fine.
Ophelia sort of goes, yes, as you go around and hit it, and then she is
She's
going
so cute.
to, seeing that it seems to be working for you, she is just going to go at it again with her dagger. Oh my god. She lunges forward, and as she does so, she just slips in the mud, and the dagger just slides off of it with maybe a small scratch before planting itself in the ground, and she just stands back up. Ox.
Henry is still being held in place. Does Ox see anything in the pool with the flowers that you mentioned?
Roll another perception check.
9.
It's very far away. I mean, the only reason why you can tell there are flowers is because this landscape is rather dark and the flowers are a very light blue.
Mm-hmm.
So they stand out as a bright color here, but you can't really catch any details. You're very far away.
I'm gonna have Ox move 30 feet and then fire the last round in his chamber
Right?
at the machine. 13, that's math.
13 hits.
13 damage.
It shudders as you hit it with these bullets. You hear gears struggling to turn within it, a sort of pained, screeching, clanking sound. The light flickers again on its front before turning back on, a little weaker than before. Henry, I think you roll to escape from this frustrating force that's holding you back.
The vibe killer.
Yes. So, wisdom.
Did you just roll like a natural 20 or something? Oh, no! No, I was just kidding. But I was like, certainly Henry will never succeed a wisdom saving throw.
Yeah, you just finally feel yourself breaking free from this invisible hold on you as you struggle to race forward again.
Henry! So, I can get him.
Run 30 feet. I think she's gonna do it. She's just gonna cast it again, but not empower it. So, wisdom saving throw.
Sorry, I'm still laughing.
Don't you fuck this up for us again,
I
Henry.
love how we just keep making you roll wisdom over and over again.
5.
That's more like it.
So she holds out her hand again.
Back to normal.
The status quo.
Stop it!
From that sort of lake pond ahead of you, as well as the smaller one next to it, you see some of the water start to rise as a mist, and it grows rapidly, almost unnaturally so, and starts to surround you. Henry, you know exactly where you want to go. It doesn't really matter to you. But to the rest of you, within the space of, 6 seconds, the air around you is filled with this mist, and Henry and Beatrice just vanish from your sight. Virgil, as you watch this happen, thwack! You feel like metal clang against your head.
Can I ask what you
Yes.
rolled to hit me?
20?
Yeah, okay, never mind.
A nat 20?
Sorry, a natural 20?
Yeah.
Oh, that's different than a 20.
Yeah, sorry, I should have clarified.
Sorry,
a nat
yeah.
20, so I assumed it.
Sorry I asked.
I assumed it hit. Your vision just goes red for a moment as it slams against your head, and you take 27 bludgeoning damage
I'm up.
and 5 lightning damage. As
Not really, but I'm
as
up.
it does so, you feel like a sort of like zapping energy through you as it makes contact with you and almost bowls you over with its one remaining claw arm.
Fuck. How does this thing look? You said it was moving, like, badly?
It is moving badly. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, that's all he can do, is just keep hitting it, so that's what I'm gonna do. I assume a 25 hits,
Yes.
a 17?
Yeah.
3 ice, 12 slashing, another 3 ice, and 7 slashing.
How do you destroy the machine, Virgil?
Okay, he would duck under its remaining claw arm and just thrust his sword right into the glowing bit in its chest.
Sparks fly out from the impact, and some of them land on your skin and leave little small scald marks. You don't notice the pain as you just plunge your sword deeper into this and then rip through the metal. There's another loud screech, a few more slow grinding clanks from the machine. The light flickers again and then goes out. And the machine crumbles and with more loud clanging sounds, just falls to pieces to the ground around you.
Okay. I do need to roll a concentration check on my spell. I got hit, so I am holding Expeditious Retreat. No, I drop it. With my movement, I did last know the direction Henry is in, and so I will take my remaining 30 and just move that way.
Yeah, you feel like you're basically blind in there. You can see about 5 feet ahead of you.
Do I see Beatrice there?
Yeah, I think as you run forward and come to a stop to get your bearings, just faintly in the shape, you can recognize the form of Beatrice next to you.
She sees him just sort of swaying on his feet. He just looks at the direction where she's holding. Do you still have him?
So far.
Ophelia's gonna look back at you, Ox. Both of you are outside of this cloud, and look back where Virgil has just vanished. Give you a nod, and then she'll race forward as well, just 30 feet, and ends up right behind Beatrice. Ox, it's your turn.
I'm gonna have Ox reload his gun.
Henry, make a wisdom saving throw to escape the hold person,
9.
Fails.
and then make another one to escape the chomp.
3.
At least we're consistent now. You continue to struggle.
On all fronts.
Yeah.
You find yourself filled with a burning frustration as you keep trying to do what you want and reach this thing and you just can't for whatever reason. It's a nagging anger like one you've never felt before. Beatrice, it's your turn.
Beatrice kind of like looks forward to where she knows Henry is. She's going to hold the tatting shuttle as her spell focus, and she's just going to walk forward towards Henry and hold her action for if anything attacks her.
You can move as fast as you want. I think just your aim may be off.
Yeah.
So Beatrice will walk forward. I'm going to have initiative drop. All of you stand in this cloud. I guess I'll have you roll until one of them breaks first. So what's that?
The nat 20.
Okay.
Again, for the hold.
You break free of hold person. But that will be the end of your turn, so I'm also gonna have you roll for charm.
Also a nat 20.
Yes! I willed that one into existence.
Wait a second.
Oh.
Sorry, you have to roll one more time. I forgot that you have disadvantage on the
Just roll
wisdom
another
saving
natural
check.
20, Neil.
Yeah, roll another natural 20.
11.
Oh no.
Fuck! You break free of the hold person. Stumble forward and then dash into the water. As you run up to the surface of this water, it's strange, it doesn't reflect you as you go up to it. It almost feels like you're running into space, like into a void. But no, it is definitely cold water that splashes up around you. And you run forward until it goes up to your knees, your chest, and then finally you're underneath. And once you're underwater, now you can hear that voice clearly. Perfectly. And you stop. And listen.
Fuck, I'm sorry. I couldn't hold him any longer. Is there still mist around us?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
she can feel
Delilah.
that her spell stops.
Yeah, okay, great.
Delilah would be on the shore too.
I'm gonna go forward. I think he kept going in the direction he was going.
Oh no. I think Virgil also runs forward, like blindly, towards the sound.
I think
Just
that
going
requires a roll, probably, in blindness.
Could you be assisted by sad Delilah sounds?
Oh.
You will not be running around these things that are in your way. You will run into them.
Yeah.
I'll have you sort of stay. Ox, you and Ophelia run forward. I think she's holding your hand as you do so, and then you almost like smack into this huge tree trunk, and have to like stop for a second, get your bearings as best you can. As you're running, it does seem like the fog is dissipating slightly. You can't see clearly, but you can vaguely like see the shapes of the trees and the broken machinery. Beatrice, roll a wisdom.
Is it charmed
Saving throw.
again?
Yes.
Can I use my advantage on it this time?
No, you'll just do a straight roll instead of a disadvantage.
That's a 14.
As the fog dissipates slightly and you hear this song, you take a step forward, like you want to hear it more, and then sort of shake your head, and this desire to listen closer fades slightly, and the voice sort of peters off, goes quiet.
Henry, stop listening to it. Can she see anything now?
You can see that there's water ahead of you. It's still foggy in the area, you can't see perfectly, but
Does she see Delilah?
I think Delilah is just walking back and forth at the edge of the water,
Yeah.
whimpering.
I think he's in the water. She'll just walk up to the edge.
I would move towards Beatrice's voice and presumably Delilah's whimpers at this point, up to the edge of the water.
As the fog is starting to evaporate and like float up out of this space, you can see their shapes a little more clearly.
Virgil looks out over the water and he'll reach out and kind of wave a hand over the surface, and I will use shape water to turn the pond translucent. Crystal clear so we can see in.
It's off-putting to look at as you do this. The water ripples on the surface like water should, but it's reflecting back just nothingness, black. But it is reflecting. So if you can force yourself to sort of look past that uncanny mirror image, you can see through the water. What is the range? You see a little closer to the flower-covered island in the middle, next to one of the machine parts that must have sunk down there long ago. The shape of Henry Goodlove, just standing underwater, his hair waving about slightly in a supposedly non-existent current. He's not struggling, he's just standing there. A couple bubbles float up.
Is there anything else in the water with him?
You don't see anything.
There he is.
Beatrice will grab the skull and look through it to look at the water where Henry is.
You point it towards Henry and you don't see anything different.
I think we can just go in.
Yeah, okay. Virgil dives into the water. Go after the errant boy.
Oh, well, they're whispering, because you can't swim, can you, cowboy man?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Do you want to know how many hit points I have? Again?
At least one.
At least one. You're right.
God damn it.
Yeah, Beatrice will dive in as well.
As they approach the edge of the water, Ox looks nervously at Ophelia. You know how to swim?
Do you not? It's alright. Do you not?
Ox shakes his head no.
Well, if things go poorly down there, they'll need someone at the surface.
He gulps a little and nods.
She walks up to the water's edge with you and stops. Just watches.
Can I reach the boy?
Yes.
Virgil immediately locks an arm around his waist
Beatrice will try to grab for his arm on the other side of you.
and try to drag him back up.
Virgil, make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, natural 20.
Okay. Yeah, you start to try to pull Henry out. Henry, you don't want to move.
You put up a decent enough fight.
Let's do a contested strength.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But Beatrice is helping, right?
Yeah, I'm helping.
So you roll as well. Or you roll with advantage.
17.
17.
11.
Henry does not budge. Just sort of kicks you away, basically. You do notice there are less and less, bubbles rising from Henry's,
Okay.
nose and mouth as this happens.
After the second kick, you're gonna get blood cursed. Make a strength save.
10.
You fail. No, but it only lasts until the end of my turn if I don't amplify it, is the thing.
Well, not if it brings you to 0. Not if amplifying it brings you to 0. Don't do it
It's a
then.
chance.
Then don't do it!
It's a 2 out of 6 chance.
Then don't do it! That's 1/3!
It's fine. So yeah, with Henry temporarily frozen in place, I will try and get as much to the surface as I can.
Yeah, you just start to swim straight up towards the surface, but don't quite make it there.
Okay.
Beatrice, what are you doing?
She's helping. She's got one arm. Make them go as fast
Yeah.
as possible up to the surface.
Make a wisdom saving throw. Just one.
Fucking hell.
Nope. What is it?
3.
You start to hear that voice again. And it was always lovely, but it sounds more clear than it did before. You've never heard anything so beautiful. It's like something from one of the fairy tales you would have read. And you stop to hear it better.
She lets go.
Seeing that you are just now kind of frozen in place.
Ophelia jumps into the water.
Okay. With one hand, as much as he can spare to take off of Henry's squirmy body, he'll cast Shape Water again and just make a lifting motion, and the current will start to pull us up. All of us. Okay. I no longer have assistance.
That's a nat 20.
Fuck you, dude! Well,
You just want this so bad, don't you?
What the fuck, Henry? Should have amplified your ass. If we both drown, then we both drown, but at least it won't be like this.
Does the current catch Beatrice as well?
Yes.
Okay, make a strength.
19.
Yeah, you both resist this current as you listen.
Can I catch a fucking break?
No.
Ophelia is going to grab Beatrice by the arm and start to try to swim up with her.
Athletics.
Yeah.
That's an 11.
Ophelia sort of like tugs at you, Beatrice, and you just don't move.
Yeah.
You and I, sir, are gonna have a fucking talk after this.
Henry and Beatrice, you both escape from this current. Beatrice, you allow yourself to sink to the bottom and stand there listening to this sound. Henry, you begin to walk forward up to this island. One foot still in the water, one crushes some of these small blue flowers around you. You stop there. You feel something reach out for your hand and take it. And you hold it back and just crouch there at the edge of the water. The rest of you see Henry rise up from the lake and just sit here. You see that skull start to float up from Beatrice's sling that she had created for it. And it floats through the water and sort of follows Henry's until it washes up onto the little island in the middle. And then you notice blood dripping onto the flowers and a dagger in Henry's shoulder. Some of it starts to flow into this lake, dissipates. The dagger is pulled out again into Henry's shoulder. There's more blood. It continues to dissipate into the water. It keeps happening.
I
Do something.
I didn't know that this.
Wow.
No, I'm going to Henry.
Okay.
Just like a drenched rat, just
Make a perception check.
crawl up onto the shore beside him. Think that's an 11, baby.
There's no, bridges onto this island.
You could try to use that as a bridge. I'm gonna have you make a dexterity.
Yeah, he'll run around.
I think you
It's
actually...
a 16.
Okay, yeah, Ox, you, with a running start, you can jump and leap onto this metal part that's jutting out from the ground. It looks like maybe the arm of a claw, like you fought before. And you race forward to this island, and Henry and Virgil. I'll have you also make a perception check.
18.
You leap forward, you sort of scrabble a bit on this wet bank of this island, and you fall slightly, catch yourself in these flowers. And as you look up to the scene around you of Henry-based carnage, just past him, it barely catches your eye, the reflection in the mirror of the coyote skull. And it reflects back you and Virgil and Henry, and the Rusalka is there. It looks slightly different. Its skin is a little darker and has stripes almost like a tiger down it, but they look like mirrors reflecting the surroundings. To the side, laying in the flowers, you can just barely see, just at the edge of the small mirror, a reflection of a boot, part of a leg. The clothes are familiar. You can tell that they're Kian's. But when you look back to the scene in front of you, you don't see him at all. And that is where we'll end our session for tonight.
Fun. You are such Roll20 to resist your friends. How many did you roll? 3 or 4? Just against us?
God.
Listen, Henry rolled one natural 20 against the Rusalka, but then was at disadvantage, so...
Your dice are in jail.
You're in jail, actually. Go to jail.
Oh, the falcon was a pretty bird. Wondered as she flew. She danced around and pranced around.